Hey, check this out. In less than 12 months, today's guest slashed his wages bill by 90%, 90. He increased turnover by 21%, and he's now living the vita loca.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
G'day, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, so much more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. And I tell you what, by you listening to today's episode, you will be doing that by the very end. You will have the resourcefulness, the motivation and the inspiration to do it. We are lovingly brought to you today by the good folk at Net Registry, who get your online marketing sorted, and 99 Designs, the world's largest graphic design marketplace, where you're guaranteed to get a design you'll love. Big show today. I want to launch right into it. I'm busting for you to get this information inside your business brain. I have a chat with past guest David Warne. I call him Mr. Inspirational. He owns Sydney Tall Ships, and what he's done with that business, him and his wife, in the last 12 months is nothing short of incredible. I share a fun marketing quote that involves that very good dance called the cha-cha, which I've never done. And that's pretty much it. There is no room for any more marketing gold than that inside this episode. So let's get stuck right in.
Do you need a speaker for your next conference? Recommend Timbo to your event organiser. Or better still, book him. Tim Reid, that's reid.com.au.
Hey, before we launch into my fireside chat with David Warne, a reminder to all listeners, if you haven't joined the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, there is a price increase this Friday, August 14 at midnight. It's going from $49 a month to $69 a month. If you join now, you will have that $49 monthly fee, membership fee forever. But if you join after that, it's going to go up a bit. But there is massive value in there. I won't go on about it. I just wanted to remind you, come inside the inner circle of the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Join me, ask me your marketing questions, and get your marketing sorted, because that's just what we do in there, and you got to be part of it if you are a motivated business owner. And I know you are. Head over to crankmymarketing.com. Support for this show comes from Net Registry, a one-stop shop for getting your online marketing sorted. Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, recently told me this story of a very happy mechanic.
So one of my favourite stories of customers that I heard was a salesperson was talking to a mechanic, and he was talking about what sort of email he would like to have and what kind of hosting, whether he wants cloud or cPanel hosting. And the mechanic just said, look, I don't care, build my website, here's my phone number, make my phone ring and send me the bill. And that was the last we heard of him. He didn't provide us content. He didn't provide us any details about his business. We had his contact details. We wrote all the content and we just got his phone ringing and sent him the bill.
Net Registry, where happy mechanics go to grow their business online. Visit netregistry.com.au or give them a buzz on 1300 638 734. And tell them Timbo sent you.
Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Support for this show also comes from 99 Designs, where dozens of designers compete to deliver a fast, affordable design you'll love. Speaking of love, their big cheese, Patrick Llewellyn, recently compared 99 Designs to a dating site.
We really think of contests almost like the dating paradigm. You go to a nightclub, it's noisy, there's a lot of people to meet, you get to meet a lot of people, and if you're lucky, at the end of that process you might meet someone, right? And then you go on and have dates. And so a contest is kind of like that paradigm. You put up your proposal, lots of designers submit their ideas, and then you start to whittle down to a few of the ones that really resonate with you. And then ultimately you pick one of them, and once you've picked that one designer, the chances of you going on to work with that designer to get other things designed is actually very high.
99 Designs, where love is in the air. For a free $99 upgrade on your first design, visit 99designs.com/Timbo. Okay, let's get stuck into today's guest, David Warne, Sydney Tall Ships. He first appeared on this show in episode 157, where he told us this amazing story of where he nearly pretty much went bust and came back from the brink and created an amazing business of the Sydney Tall Ships. It's basically the 6 tall ships that you see out on Sydney Harbour. That's David's business. Now, here's what he has done since. The cost of running that business drove him absolutely nuts. It's expensive to run businesses in Australia. So he moved the business and the family to the Philippines, not the ships, but the back office of that business and all the marketing that goes along with it. He's moved it to the Philippines. And as I said at the top of the show, he's reduced his wages bill by 90%, increased turnover by 21% in less than 12 months. Now, listen in as David explains how he and his wife Alison did it. But this is not an interview about moving to the Philippines, right? This is an interview that acknowledges that once and for all, that there's a global economy out there that business owners of all sizes can take advantage of. You hear me say it, there's never been a better time to market and run a small business, a business of any size. Well, this is absolute confirmation of it. Now, hang around after this interview as I will announce some tour dates where you can join David in the Philippines on a 3-day behind-the-scenes look of how you can do exactly what he's done. And in fact, I'll be going on one of those dates in a couple of months' time. And I encourage you to join me. 3 days, I know, it's 3 days out of your business, but like I said last week, you got to take a break. You got to get out of your comfort zone. More on that after the show, after the interview, I should say. I started off by asking David, what's his favourite Filipino food?
It's pretty easy to answer, Timo. That's the ribs, pork ribs with barbecue sauce.
Sorry, are you in Philadelphia or the Philippines?
The Filipinos, they're just a whole bunch of little Americans.
Really?
Yeah. It's an American culture.
Right.
So pork rib, spare ribs and pork belly, two of my favourite dishes.
Jeez, mate. Well, I must say, I mean, we've had some video chats over the last few weeks and you are looking pretty trim. Based on that diet, you should be the size of, Violet Beauregard in Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
It happens every time. They all become blueberries.
You've really done it this time, haven't you, Wonka? I'll break you for this.
You're known as the marketing guy. That camera does me a world of good. I'm 106 kilos. I have a cook. I have a gardener.
Goodness.
I have 2 nannies. We have. Yeah. So,
wow. Righto.
Thank goodness for the video.
Yeah, well, I was always under the impression the camera didn't lie, but clearly it does. Now, Dave, welcome back. Your first interview on this show had a massive impact on listeners about how the Sydney Tall Ships business came into being after you hitting some pretty tough times. Now you have gone and done something completely different with that business. So what I want to know is tell us about the lead up to deciding to move your business and your family to the Philippines. And what was happening in your life to make such a drastic decision?
From a business point of view, Tim, our business is very, very seasonal. Hot as could be. November, December, Christmas charters, then January, February, March, and April. I mean, we're now we're about 85 or 87,000 people on board of the ships a year, and 75% of those people are over those summer months, which is fantastic. Except we're carrying a whole stack of costs and infrastructure over the winter time, so it's boom and bust. All of the people that we needed to handle the summer trade, I had to carry over into over the winter months, which led to ultimately to cash flow, financial management problems, tax problems, all sorts of stresses that would come onto my plate each winter. And my wife and I, Alison and I, my partner in Sydney, just thought that there must be a better way.
Just to be clear there, you've got your partner in Sydney, Marty's kind of the ship guy, the shipwright. Is that the right word?
Yeah, he drives the ships. He's responsible for our customer experiences.
He drives the ships.
He drives the ships.
Clearly, you've got no idea.
No. I've never claimed to have, Tim. Honestly,
Correct.
I'm the business side of
Well,
things.
this is what I'm going to love about this interview: your honesty and transparency. So, the better way. Before you explain that better way, how were you and Alison going? It feels like you must have got to a point in your life, if I could be so, make it so dramatic, where it was like something had to give.
Yeah, like 10 years of that business, Tim. It's 10 years of ups and downs and roller coasters, boom and bust. But I was also, so there's something else behind the scenes, and only business owners will relate to this. And I'm hopefully, this is business owners' conversation here, but I was fairly sick and tired of the demands of a lot of my employees, my marketing people, for more money, increase the wages, 5,000 and 10,000. And I actually really tired of demand for more. And Alison and I, marketing resources, the drive for social media people, the drive of the telephone calls, people not turning up to work, sick days.
Okay. Were you a good boss?
Most of the time. I think I put a lot of effort into creating an inspiring workplace. I certainly put training programs in place. We kept it fun, happy hours on Fridays. I keep it as fun and as light and positive as possible, but at the same time, under pressure all the time of not necessarily having the resources to employ the people that I wanted to employ, and subsequently putting more work on individuals, which causes pressure, of course, as well.
So in making that decision to move to the Philippines, well, tell us about the moment then that you and Alison have looked each other in the eye and said, let's do this.
Yeah, I did a tour, Tim. So I did. I had to. So you can only get so far looking online, and it looks good, and it looks like there are people talking about it. Some people are talking really positive about this idea. Some people at the time were dead against it, with a whole stack of beliefs that they felt quite comfortable driving home to me at the time. So I had to get over here and
see it for yourself, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so why did you choose, out of interest, before you've gone on a business tour to the Philippines? Why the Philippines?
So I'm going to be really honest, and whether you put this into your show or not, Tim, I wasn't comfortable with my Australian customers. I wasn't comfortable personally, so I didn't want my customers to be subject to Indian voices, the Indian culture of things. I just wasn't comfortable with that. I chose Philippines as my first spot because I had a belief that the Filipinos were good at English. They were more acceptable as an accent to my customers, to me and my customers. And I'd also heard that they spend most of their time talking to Americans in, American businesses or American residential private people.
Right.
That gave me hope that Australians would be more acceptable of their voice.
Okay, so you've gone. Okay, all your online research led you to Philippines. You've said to Alison, "Listen, I need to see this for myself. I'm going to go over and do a tour." You do a tour, you come back, and what's the aha?
Well, to be honest, Tim, it wasn't when I came back. It was on my second day of the tour.
Oh, really?
Before the end of the second day, I was on my phone to Alison, saying, "Oh my goodness, Alison, you have no idea what I have discovered here. It is beyond anything that I would have." I've actually got little bits of. I've got little bits of shakes in my going through my blood now. Was the excitement? I was like a kid in a candy store, literally. Someone who's fairly ambitious, fairly hungry, fairly full on, wanting to grow, wanting to make things happen, but never quite having the resources to it. Suddenly realizing that just over the horizon was a stack of people, pretty amazing people as it turns out, that I thought at the time I could really work with.
That's a generalisation, and I absolutely get that. Was there a moment on that second day where it all came together? Can you remember, was there a person that you spoke to? Was there something that you saw?
I saw other business owners, other people work. I literally saw from my own eyes Australian businesses with their customer service. My first issue was making sure my customers were going to be communicated with, dealt with as equally of hopefully better than what we were doing in Australia, right? Mm-hmm. And I saw real Australian businesses not that dissimilar to mine, making an absolute goer of it here. Mm-hmm. So I saw it with my own eyes, and I also saw that the costs of running that team were, significantly less.
What did Alison say? I wish you'd recorded that phone call on the second day of your tour. Was Alison kind of like resigned to the fact that, look, we if David likes what he sees, we'll probably move over? Or was that like, what was that conversation like?
No.
Here we go.
Two very, very different people. Entrepreneur, love taking a risk sometimes,
yep.
Full on, very enthusiastic, passionate. Alison, and I'm really sorry here to all of those people in Sydney, North Shore, girls' school, very, very conservative.
Yep.
Dreamt her whole life of marrying an accountant. So her world combined with my world, we make a great team.
Yep.
But to be honest, there's no way in the world she was going to even contemplate this unless she came over here for herself to have a look.
Aha.
So on the Tuesday night at midnight at the end of the tour, I actually said, Alison, can you come over on the Friday? So she flew over she bought a ticket and she came over on the Friday.
Oh, man, I love there's just this beautiful instantaneous about the way you go about things, David. So Alison comes over. I'm guessing you were probably meant to be going back, but you've stayed on.
Actually, Tim, I didn't. She actually flew over on the Thursday night. She arrived here at about 7:00 on Thursday night.
Right.
And I had appointments lined up for her, for both of us, to go back to the people that had met on days 1 and 2 on the Friday. So I wanted her to experience what I'd experienced.
Alison must have said yes. Were you prepared for a no?
No. I'm not very good with no's, Tim.
No.
But you do have to be very strategic about that, right? And I have learned a few lessons over the years on how to be more strategic on that one. So you might talk to Alison about that.
AKA how to be a good husband.
Well, we got 2 kids, right? 3 and 6 at the time. It was schooling. She had a whole stack of beliefs being driven home to her by family members and by friends that the kids weren't going to be safe. It was dirty, typhoid, malaria,
typhoons.
Typhoons. There's a whole stack of beliefs there that are there, right? And so fairly apprehensive.
Some valid, some not.
Yeah, until you get here, you won't know how to answer that question, Timbo.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I live in a really beautiful community with extraordinary groups of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm part of those communities, so we feel quite safe.
So, okay, so you clearly how long did Alison take to come around to the idea? Did it happen when she was there, or were there months passing once you got back?
It happened by the end of that day, really. By the Friday night, we'd made a decision. We came back home. We put 76 items. We sold up. We had to actually do a presentation to Marty. I put a fair bit of time into presenting the game plan. The numbers was very important. Mm-hmm. We have a little board that I need that help Marty and I make better decisions. I presented that.
Marty being your Sydney business partner.
My Sydney partner, and a couple of people that we have on the board there to just... I've put that in place to make sure I make good decisions, or better chance of better decisions. Decisions are at least less risk in those decisions.
Yep.
Presented that. In that first 1 or 2 weeks, Alison had already made up our mind what we were going to do, and we had pretty good support from those guys. We'd sold up everything in Australia, and I moved here. So 2 weeks after the end of the tour, I moved here officially. And 4 weeks after the end of the tour, Alison was here with the children.
Mate, that's mind blowing. I don't like. It's inspiring. It's scary. It's like, I know there are listeners going, good on you. Others will be going, how did you do it? But I guess there's power in, like, you make that decision. And, I've known you for a while now, David, that you make that decision. It's like next, there's no dwelling. Dwell doesn't live in your lexicon.
Well, not when you want to make things happen, mate.
So tell
that
me,
was July. No, don't forget, I was in July, and my peak season kicks in October, November.
Yeah.
I've got $1 million worth of charters that I need to sell and deliver. That's just charters in December, and I had to I literally had people dropping out left, right, and centre from my Australian team, knowing that I'd made this decision. I had to completely, wholeheartedly rebuild a team here in the Philippines. I've got 16 different products from $29 to $35,000 that I needed to completely rebuild here before we had to rebuild it and make it happen if I was going to have a summer season. So I wanted to, if I didn't do it then, it wasn't going to happen that year.
Okay, let's, so staff transitioning, because I know there was a bit of pain that came out of all this. Of course, there has to be when you make such big decisions. So your Sydney-based staff, what did you do? Did you have a meeting? Everyone in the boardroom?
They got... I'm not the most secretive guy in the world, right? I'm fairly open, and things picked up pretty quickly. And as soon as people get a hint of the ship changing direction...
The ship going down, so to speak.
It was... I'm going to say to you, there's a whole stack of lessons I learnt there, and I didn't handle it very well. People found jobs. People moved on. My staff were in pretty keen demand.
Okay, so where was the big mistake?
Not communicating to those guys as well as I should have done, and perhaps not. I would do a slower transition completely. I was a bit too quick in reducing my costs down, and quite honestly, if I could have had more of that IP and actually bought one or two of those people over here, because we didn't do that. They weren't. It's just hard to believe, but I actually look back and I say, I can't believe it, but none of my staff, not one of my Australian staff, were willing to travel to the Philippines and spend time here rebuilding the team here. They were so upset.
They had you in the gun. They had that's about you, like going, no, stuff you, David. You've done bad by us, so we're on the move.
Yeah. It's something that needs to be considered for business owners in that transition, right?
Yeah, because there was a big amount of IP, and surely although there was some staff members there that were actually were good. They weren't all complaining. They weren't all wanting pay rises. They weren't all being...
Let's make this straight. My staff were amazing. Honestly, I always wanted to be able to, wish I could pay them more, give them better, do more, except... I'm driven by creating these teams of people. I spent 10 years building that. They all contributed to making Sydney Harbour Tall Ships what it was. Let's not get that wrong. Except there's a natural increase in pricing, home loans, car prices.
Australia is at a ridiculous... we've said this before, even the cost, and hello to all you plumbers, even the cost of getting a plumber to your home, is prohibitive. You really got to think, can I do it myself?
They get married. They need more. I understand. Please, I don't...
I hear.
Even as much as I don't want to make it very important to me that I have nothing but respect for those guys.
Yeah, so. No, I get that. And it is a pity that, a couple couldn't come across, because they would have been the teachers of your new teams over there. They're the ones that had the IP. But anyway, that didn't happen. What was your wages bill just before you left Australia, David?
Well, to just numbers here, it took me 3 months to get rid of the costs, all of those costs that I had in Australia, and it took me 3 months to become quite solid in our day-to-day. So after 3 months, my wage bill had been reduced by... my wage bill was reduced $21,000 a week.
Whoa. Within 3 months?
Within 3 months. So each Thursday, which is our payday, Thursday, Friday, I think it's Thursday, it was reduced by $21,000.
Whoa, man.
Every single Thursday, thank you very much.
Straight to the bottom line.
Straight to the bottom line.
And less tax, and I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of tax, but I'm guessing less tax, less cost of seat?
Well, no, you just imagine we had a $65,000 a year little office in George Street, all the phone costs, the computers, the desks, the insurances, the bond tied up in all of that infrastructure, tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars of, losing. It just doesn't end. It just doesn't end, those costs. So as soon as you replace, I got rid of all of it.
There's a part of me that Sydney Tall Ships, iconic Australian adventure, iconic Australian tour, that is now being run outside of Australia. How do you respond to that? It just feels like a little bit of the values aren't right.
Sure. So two components of that. First of all, Sydney Harbour Tall Ships has been audited for the last 8 years in a row by the government, and we've generated over $1 million of export earnings every single year now for the last 4 or 5 years. So that's $1 million of people spending, overseas people spending their money in our business. That money is 100% back into the community. Yeah? So I guess that's just one component of the value of that business. If I don't run that business as efficiently, as productively as possible, we won't have that business in the long term. We can't. I don't have the money to reinvest back into them, rebuilding them as I am.
Yeah, okay.
Secondly, it's an Australian company. That Australian company now is more profitable, a lot more profitable, and it's paying a lot more tax. So although I've got mechanisms in place that minimise my tax, and I'm 100% about minimising tax legally, that company itself is now making much more money and paying a lot more money in tax. So where's that money go? Straight back into our community.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. I'm spending a lot of money on fuels, ship rights, all of my crew on board, all of my food, all of my alcohol, all of the back end of the business, are still being provided 100% by all local suppliers.
Love it.
Okay.
Yep.
So, mate, I've got to get on with business.
Correct.
It's a global economy. If I can't be competitive in my product, how the hell are we going to survive?
And it is a global economy, and the world has changed, and there has never been a better time to be in business, and you are proving that. Now, you've moved over there. You have got July, August, September. You got feels like 3 months to start a business from scratch in a foreign country. How?
First of all, I'm very, very lucky to have my wife here with me, okay? I'm big picture and Alison's detail. So without her, I don't think that would have gone very far, right? That's number one. How, Timbo? So over sort of 20 years of my life, checking your foundation beliefs. Who are you? Some people don't like this. I don't really care. Tony Robbins, set of beliefs, a bloke called Clinton Swain. I've spent a lot of time in my life getting my core beliefs into a really good position. What I really like, never giving up. It's not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. If anyone can do this, I can do this. I believe in these people. 1,000 people have told me before I arrived here that, they'll only do simple things really well. They can't solve problems, a whole stack of nonsense. So to build a team quickly and empower those people to learn for themselves and to take on their world, to own their different components of the business. When you believe in someone and you know that they believe in you, they start believing in themselves, and literally the team built it around me. One man said to me in the back of the car, "Dave, I've forgotten how to dream. I've forgotten it's about believing. It's just about building a team, Tim."
The man being a Filipino employee or someone?
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, being around, aren't we the sum of the 5 people we hang around the most? Or is it something like that where clearly you are pulling a whole lot of people back up to where they want to be, where they deserve to be? And with that momentum that you build comes momentum, and things start to fall in place, I guess.
No, these guys, Tim, just quietly are extraordinary in their ability to learn, hungry to be part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
They love Australian companies, of course. They work daylight hours rather than American graveyard hours. They've got families. They want to. They've all got university education. They've all of their families have supported them through that education.
Mm-hmm.
They are just willing and wanting to grow and learn, and
they're hungry.
Be hungry to become and be part of something that was a vision, that was a dream. That was my first words when I sat down on the concrete floor. I literally had a concrete floor to start with here, by the way.
Oh, wow. Wow. I can see the vision. Have you got a picture of that?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, mate, please.
Concrete floor. No, not even carpet on the concrete floor, Tim.
Send it through. I'll put it in the show notes. Dave, as we're talking, I think what we need to do is I want to continue the discussion of you moving your business, the Sydney Tall Ships business, over to the Philippines. I want to do a second episode about this whole outsourcing thing and because I know there are listeners right now going, either I want some of that or I need to find out more about that. And I think that's just a whole separate episode. You cool with that?
Timo, there are a stack of Australian business owners. I know because I talk to my mates.
Right.
I've got all my mates, all my different all my old mates. There's a stack of business owners, in my opinion, that are under a lot of pressure. And if I can, they are, and there is another way. That's the ultimate happiness comes from being able to share that.
Okay, so just to be clear, listeners, 2 things. We'll break this episode up into 2 parts, and I want to finish the discussion about David moving and family moving over there. This is not a discussion or the learning, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, this is not about, saying to all the listeners, move over to the Philippines at all. This is about, I think, using opening your mind up to outsourcing some of the tasks that you are currently paying through the nose for in Australia to the Philippines.
Just challenge some of those beliefs, Tim.
Right, good. Okay.
Yep.
Good. So you moved across, you somehow set up that business, it's rocking. Is there a moment where things got shaky? Were there tears?
Yeah. Well, you can imagine, Timo, you've got a group of people that are hungry and driven. Fantastic. They're keen. However, there are some great cultural differences between the Australian culture and the Filipino culture.
But it doesn't sound like it. You're eating ribs.
Yeah. That's my favourite bit, of course. But there are, you have to keep bringing.
Yeah.
I eat ribs out in restaurants when Alison's not around,
Goodness me.
Yeah. Look, there are some communication issues that need to be overcome. There are some cultural differences that need professional expectations. You need to work through those and
get specific. Get specific. Give me a time where you and Alison have looked each other in the eye and gone, oh geez, what have we done?
Well, we set up. Okay, quite honestly, we set up with this is probably the greatest hair pulling moment of my entire life. We set up with a service provider here in the early stages, and at the end of that contract, because of the cultural differences, what I thought one meaning to me was very different to the meaning to this person, who happens to be a Filipino. At the end of that contract, after 3 months of training these people up, let the contract finished it, and then took back 3 of those staff back into her employ.
No.
And there's nothing that I could do about it. I had to start with those, and they happened to be 3 of my team leaders.
Wow. That's just purely a misunderstanding? Or did she do the wrong thing by you?
No, I don't believe she did the wrong thing by me at all. Mm-hmm. It was just a complete, utter different meaning in a contract to what she believed and what I believed. So, yep. And I had to deal with it. I had to move on from it.
Right.
They're the type of things.
How do you move on from stuff, David?
I'm pretty good at moving on with
things.
You
are good.
Yes. No such thing as failure, mate. Just a result, deal with it. What's the crisis? All of these cliches, people must get sick of them, but they're deep in me. The bigger the crisis, the bigger the opportunity. And subsequently, I've just got a whole stack of new people in here that are still with me, of course. I think I've got just about every single person that started off with me. We started off with 12. We've now got 65 or 70. So just pretty easy when you just, deal with it, have a little bit of a... Move on, a bit of an F moment, and then move on. Find another way.
So, okay, let's wrap some numbers and paint a picture of where you're at now. You said you've got 70 staff. How long have you been there now?
12 months.
Oh, wow. 12 months, 70 staff. What are those staff? That's the staff for Sydney Tall Ships, is it?
No, not at all. So first things first, business owner, not business doer. So business owners out there that are doing all of their work and all the running around and answering all the phone calls and doing all the sales and doing all the lead generation and probably doing the plumbing or whatever. I'm going to be honest and I'll just be straight.
Go.
Not a business owner, you're a business doer. You've got a glorified job, right? So in my opinion, you build a business, you build a team. The business is there to help you to make a profit, to create cash flow, to do what you want to do with the other parts of your life. The other parts of my life is building other businesses. And I've been able to automate Sydney Harbour Tall Ships. I've got a great team. I've got a team leader there. Simple accounting structure. So operations, charters, customer service.
How big's the Sydney Tall Ships team?
13 people.
13 people or 70.
Yeah,
okay.
13 or 14 people, yep.
So you have now created another business where, because you are a guy who builds businesses and builds teams, you are taking on the pain and solving the pain of business owners in Australia who would like to do
that actually comes next. More importantly, that was my wife, Tim, to begin with, to be honest. 10 years she'd been following along with me and my ups and downs, and some of the listeners out there know the early stages of stress of that. Alison has actually, I'm got Kelly, I'm actually physically sitting here with her team as we speak, as I speak to you. She has a team called GI Creations, Giant Imagination Creations. She's organised a joint venture with one of the local manufacturers here who doesn't have a clue about marketing, sales or marketing. And she's got a global e-commerce company being built. She's been working on that company for 3 or 4 months now. She's got 13 or 14 people on that team. So America, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. She's just loving that's her project. So that was number one. I needed to give her what she wanted to do. That's her own business. Yeah.
What about all the other stuff? So I've got 26 staff now. Alison's 13.
Yep.
You've got about 13 at Sydney Tall Ships or around thereabouts?
13 or 14 there. We also have a full-on dedicated marketing team. So I'm just looking over the other side of the room over here. Website developers, graphic designers, social media specialists. My marketing director, just out of interest, my marketing director was $140,000 in Australia. Yeah. I have an amazing lady here that costs me $8,000 a year.
David. Hey, David.
Yes, sorry.
She listens to this podcast.
I know. You know who she is too, don't you?
No, I love it. I love how you're whispering that, and they're wonderful. So, mate, you've got...
It's not all about that, you know?
I know. But this is extraordinary. That is just... And I'm guessing the quality...
I've got content writers. I've got 2 software engineers who've built 2 amazing structures for me to be able to get information from websites easier. Yeah, all sorts of things, Tim.
I want to come back to the numbers, but what we will do, because clearly what you have done, and I know I have some insight to, is that you have built also a business that is providing the services of everything you just mentioned to other business owners in Australia. Yeah?
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll come to that because that in itself is amazing and exciting. Back to numbers, 70 staff. What would you say percentage-wise you've saved on your annual wages bill? And what's it done for turnover, revenues of Sydney Tall Ships?
So there's actually two parts to that question. So I've taken 1.15 million in that first year of operations, the end of last financial year. I physically reduced my cost down by just over $1 million. And we were able to, I think this is more exciting, and that's great, awesome, beautiful, it's solid, but more exciting than that, working with my own team here, including that person I just mentioned to you about, we've increased our revenues by 21%.
How? Just being more productive? Being able to get to...
No, you want specifics? I'll give you an example. We have about 1,400 agents around the world who sell, before they arrive here, they sell tickets on our ship as part of a package or travel agents around the world, that type of thing, online and offline. And instead of never really quite having the time and the resources to go and talk and build relationships with all of those people, be front of mind. We have a lady here, her name's Leah. Leah and a lady I call Super Mum. She is a super mum. She literally when they're not taking phone calls for our Australian customers, which is now during the middle of winter, I've got those guys are calling people all over the world, building the relationships, finding out where they're up to. Just that particular component of the business, they're what we call the agents, has grown significantly because of that single action.
Amazing. Mate, how are you going?
Well, I'm like a kid in a candy store, Timbo. I've spent 20 years of my life wondering how I'm going to build a business and wondering how I'm going to find the money to do the next project and battling with employees wanting more. Mate, I'm surrounded by a group of people that I'm literally in love with. Like I literally love my day-to-day working with. I couldn't be more honest on that. And they kind of know it as well. I'm a bit crazy.
Yeah, well, we clearly. I mean, you were crazy. The moment I ended up at the top of a mast, sitting in the crow's nest with you of one of your tall ships about 2 years ago, it was that point
you were sitting down, holding on for grim life. The rest of us were standing up, enjoying the view, mate. Only you were sitting down.
Tough guy, Dave. Hey, now comes the tough talk. What's it like living in the Philippines?
Well, it's I came from the North Shore with a big, beautiful home, beautiful, amazing school. Yeah. Alison massively under pressure with washing and cooking, and me travelling home late and phone calls on weekends. This is very personal. I live amazing now, and I come to work. I'm at work at 7 o'clock in the morning, Australian time, and it's just a complete and utterly different world.
You're kind of speechless, which is unusual for you, but I can feel that you just can't believe where you're at the moment. And you're kind of tell me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of crystal ball gazing here, but you're looking into the future, going, "I wish it'd hurry up." And there's some parts that you just want to happen. There's other parts that you just don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be good. And you're almost lost for words, Dave.
I was fighting for a small office in George Street. Now I'm negotiating 2,000 square metres. That's going to cost me $3 a square metre, mate. So you tell me the difference. So I can build a space of 2,000 square metres in a magnificent building with extraordinary mango trees around it, or I fight for a car space and pay $10 for a bloody ticket or something and $300 for a parking fine in George Street. You tell me one I grow into and build a life with teams, one I'm being restricted the whole time. Yeah. Pretty easy to tell you why I might be more excited about business prospects here.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. Now, can you help me here? Because I want to plan, and let's let listeners hear us plan. Because what's the next episode look like? It's wonderful to hear where you've come since we last spoke, and I think it's just a wonderful next chapter of your business journey, David, and Alison's. Next episode, because one of the things I do with this show is I don't do a lot of rational discussion. I tend to save that for my Small Business Big Marketing Forum, but I want my listeners I want to learn about this whole outsourcing thing. So what we should talk about, what is outsourcing, others call it offshoring, and how to learn about it, how to make the most of it in our own businesses. Is that kind of where we should go with it?
I'd love to go more into depth of what I believe makes out what will make it work, and literally just building a small team. The secret is building a small team.
Yeah, right. Okay, gotcha. Love it. Well, and it's there now. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not talking about, this is not just for medium to large businesses. This is now absolutely available to businesses of any size?
Oh, it wouldn't matter. Just one person. I mean, one person surrounded by the right team to support that person is all it takes. One person, just one person working with dedicated roles to begin with can transform the amount of time that you will have in Australia to do other things.
Difference between a business owner and a business doer. Now, David, thank you, buddy, for sharing, for your honesty, transparency, your excitement. One bit of advice. Go easy on the ribs.
Don't go easy on the ribs. They're the best part, mate. Do you want one bit of advice from me, or do you want a bit of advice you're going to give me, Timbo?
No, I'm giving you advice around the ribs. But feel free.
No, don't. I get that advice all day from my wife,
Yeah,
Tim.
I know.
Honestly, don't give me that advice.
Well, they're one of the great dishes I know, and I am going to come over and visit you, and I'm scared. I will go on I am going to go on a serious diet beforehand because I won't be able to say no to the ribs. What would your bit of advice be?
Challenge what so-called experts around you are saying about what's possible with outsourcing.
A lot of limiting beliefs out there. Righto, well, that is going to be a very, very good place to start with the next episode. Let's talk limiting beliefs and then let's talk solutions. All right, buddy. Thanks, Dave.
Good on you, Timbo. Cheers, mate.
Well, has your thinking around how you run your business been challenged? I hope so. I love David's transparency, his energy, his passion. Now, couple of things. I am going to share those dates and when we're going on tour. Yeah, we're going to the Philippines. Well, you can if you want to. Be sure to hit David up on Twitter at outsourcingtour.com is his Twitter handle. And now I want to share the top 3 learnings from that chat I've just had with David. Thanks to the very good folk at Net Registry and 99 Designs. Remember to use that 99 Designs code.com/SBBM. Get a pretty good upgrade. Hey, now, learning number 1. We now live in a global economy. I bang on a lot about how there's never been a better time to start and market a small business. What David's doing is living proof, right? End of story. Learning number 2, be a business owner, not a business doer. Love that. Write that on a sticky note and stick it on your forehead. Never forget it. Number 3, get out of your comfort zone more often. Diarise it. What can I do this week? It's a great question to ask. What can I do this week that challenges how I think about the running of my business? It's a good question to ask. Put that on another sticky note and put it on the other side of your forehead. Your forehead's going to be very crowded. But they're great learnings. I'd love to know what yours were. Put them in the show notes over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Now, as I said, hit David up on Twitter at outsourcingtour. rockingtheboattours.com is where you can find out all about the tours that David and his wife run every month. They are every month. They are 3 days. There's a bonus 4-day if you want to take that up. I am going on the one on September 21, 2015. Would love you to join me. I am going to talk more to David next episode about the details of outsourcing and how you can make it work in your business and what to expect on those tours. So more on that. But I know there are only limited spaces on the tours, so I'd love to see you on it. rockingtheboattours.com. We might hang out in the Philippines. An optimist is someone who figures that taking a step backward after taking a step forward is not a disaster. It's more like dancing the cha-cha.
Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Righto, that is almost the end. Plenty of marketing gold coming up in the coming weeks. I'm working on that crazy advertising mediums episode I mentioned a couple of weeks ago. Plus, I'll be talking to a fellow who's made a business, wait for it, out of memorising the yellow pages. Oh, there's so many lines there. Be sure to use Net Registry to get all your online marketing sorted and 99designs.com/SBBM to get a design you'll love within 7 days guaranteed. Hey, if you're serious about your marketing, join the Inner Circle. The price goes up on Friday. Doesn't mean you can't join after then, but right now you can get that $49 monthly membership locked in forever. And if you've got a conference, I'd love to come and speak at it. Head over to timreid.com.au and you can find out about my speaking prowess. Or lack of it. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. You're not, never will be. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.